This mutation is called Chilling Adaptation and it is being played on Minor Evacuation. We have two mutators active. We have Transmutation and we have Blizzard. So, Transmutation by far is one of the scarier mutators to deal with if you're not paying attention and you end up losing your army. Your army will basically, in their death, make Amon's units stronger, and then Amon will just go ahead and wreck your face. So you have to be very careful that you do not end up losing your units unnecessarily. Now, given that there is a Nova player over here, if Nova dies to an enemy unit, that unit instantly becomes a max tier unit. So you're talking about either a hybrid behemoth or a hybrid dominator. And both of those units are not very fun to deal with. Now, the other thing to also note is on this mission, because there's Blizzard, Blizzard will move through the expansion, so taking an expansion with Blizzard active on this map is not viable, because your workers are going to get damaged from Blizzard, and your structures will also get damaged from Blizzard, so both players will have to one base on this mission. Now, given the fact that there is a Raynor player over here, Raynor is not really impacted by one basing, so it's always better to take an expansion, but if Raynor needs to, he can actually work off only a single base, and he does this by doing what he's doing right now, and he's going to be going for multiple orbital command centers, and he'll be using the mule drops to supplement his economy. So, it's always better to have the extra, 18 workers that are mining, but having the mule drops as well is a viable alternative, especially in this case where you don't really have a choice. Nova over here doesn't really have a choice. She cannot really take her expansion, and she will be slowed down significantly in this mission. Raynor, he'll be slowed down a little bit, but not that much, because he does have access to those mules that ignore the maximum, the worker limit per mineral patch, which is 1 worker mining per patch. So over here we can see what Raynor is doing. He's even putting down his third orbital command center here, or command center, in which he'll be converting to an orbital command, and you can see he's already putting down mules, and this will provide him with a good sustainable economy. Now, the one thing that is going to be a challenge for Raynor is Transmutation. Because his units are a little bit fragile, he will end up losing a few units and end up triggering the Transmutation on Amon's units. So he's gonna have to be careful, and he'll have to make sure he doesn't unnecessarily lose Marines and stuff. But we'll see what his plan is over here. So you can see Raynor just rearranging his base, making it look a little bit neater, and he's pretty much reached full worker saturation as well on his main here. So he's fine. He's gonna go taking up most of his gases now. And Nova is out and ready to go. So Nova can solo defend this side. We can see if we have a Banshee airstrike already gets put down to just help Nova out a little bit and clear some of these units. And the ship will start to launch in 15 seconds. So you can see here that Raynor is going to start pushing into the expansion. Again, not really necessary considering the fact that you cannot even take your expansion even if you wanted to. But those Banshees are going to get caught out in that Blizzard and get slowed down. They will take a little bit of damage, but not really too important. See, also notice how Raynor is focusing down these structures, which will give Nova a little bit of a problem. Nova doesn't really have problems dealing with some of these other ones, but bunkers are really annoying, especially with Nova in assault mode. So just going out and clearing out those structures, it's just going to make life a little bit easier for Nova to deal with. And now we have a bunch of units that are attacking the ship. And now we have the Hyperion Claw down here. The Hyperion will be able to solo hold the ship for the duration of the time. Hyperion does last 60 seconds, so in about 10 seconds, very, very difficult, especially for the first ship, for it to actually be destroyed by the harassing infested. Here, Hyperion just getting a few more free shots on some of these infested units. Nova's also in position. They'll be able to hold this with ease. So, production-wise, we have Nova going for all upgrades over here. So she's going for the armor upgrades, and yeah. So on this mission, depending on your composition, you can actually go for your armor upgrades, and it's not really a bad idea because the infested deal low amounts of damage, but they have reasonably high attack speed. Your armor upgrades actually play a lot of they provide you with a lot of good value. You can see over here some unit got converted from Transmutation, but again, there's another Banshee airstrike coming down, and pretty much all is done on here. So very good use of Raynor's calldowns on for the first ship. You can see here that Raynor is relying on his call downs while he finishes beefing up his economy, and see what he's doing right now. He is putting down a lot of orbital CCs. These orbital CCs are going to be the thing that will be providing him with the economy he needs to be able to continue playing through the mission. We have a ping on this side. There's an attack wave that is coming up for Nova's base. We have an airstrike that comes down. Unfortunately, the airstrike ends up missing a large number of the units here. Nova's in position. Assault mode, again, pretty much one-shot everything there. And Nova has cleaned up that attack wave. Now both players have maybe about 4 minutes before the next ship will force launch, but there is also an attack wave that will be making its way towards that ship. So the players will have to hurry up a little bit. See all these orbital command centers over here, and these mules are going to be providing Raynor with a lot of value. And it looks like Raynor will be going for a marine build here, a bio build. Bio builds are not really bad for Raynor, and you know, for the most part, like going for these bio builds is usually the correct choice. Unfortunately, because bio tends to get killed off very, very quickly, it will end up rocking Transmutation, and you can end up losing a lot of units unnecessarily. So you can see right here what's happening is Raynor's army is actually ending up feeding Amon's units. What you would normally want to do here is let Nova start clearing out the side, and once it's cleared, put down a few Marines and put down a few Hellbats and whatnot, or Firebats and whatnot. But you want to start transitioning and putting down some siege tanks instead. Putting some siege tanks on the back line is going to provide a lot of good value for you, and you will actually make your life a little bit easy. We can see here that Nova wants to try and take that base, but her SCV got picked off. And now there's a random infestor that's trying to attack this refinery, which is kind of funny. The infestor doesn't realize that. That's actually really, really funny. So the infestor, whenever a unit gets transmutated, it gets an attack command towards the nearest allied unit. And in this case, the infestor got an attack command towards this thing, but you know, obviously infestors can't attack, so this thing is just circling around this refinery now. It's actually really, really funny. It will not use skills either, because the infestor cannot use it will not use a skill against a structure, because it doesn't see that the spawn infested Terran can use the damn structure, which is also kind of funny. But there we go. So Nova has put down a bunch of siege tanks now, and we can see that Raynor has a few medics as well into the mix here. I think is that another, yeah, those are another bunch of siege tanks. And these siege tanks are just going to be able to hold the side with without any real problems. We can see here that Raynor's army is taking cover behind the siege tanks, which is really good. So Raynor won't be losing army units unnecessarily, which is very, very good considering you're dealing with Transmutation, which can be really, really nasty. Infest over here playing Ring Around the Rosie around this refinery. I'm going to keep checking back on that guy. I want to make sure that he's having some fun with that refinery. But so far so good. Actually, this refinery might end up going down to the blizzards at some point, and then he'll get another attack command. But for now, we're gonna have fun with Bob the Infestor over there. And yeah, so Nova has 4 siege tanks out here, so this should be more than enough to be able to handle whatever is coming up here. And Nova, unfortunately, though, does not have the upgrade for her siege tanks, the graduated range and the mag mines upgrades. That one is very important for Nova to make her siege tanks even more useful, especially on this map. She's gotten the concussive shells upgrade for her marauders, but she doesn't appear to have any marauders in the mix. So that's kind of a wasted upgrade as well. And same goes for the combat shield upgrade for Marines. I don't know if she plans on going for some of the bio units, but for now it seems like it is a wasted upgrade. Over here, unfortunately, a lot of Raynor's army now gets put into the red. There is a stim that comes up, as well as the blizzard dealing a lot of damage, and a lot of these guys may end up taking a lot of fatal damage here. But that is blizzard for you, and that is what makes this mutation very, very annoying, because the blizzard goes through these ships. Now, one thing to also note is because Blizzard is considered an environmental hazard rather than an Amon unit, it will not deal damage to the ship, so you don't have to worry about the Blizzard dealing damage to these ships. But it will obviously deal damage to you because it is an environmental hazard. Nova over here has... she put down, okay, she's put down a bunch of Goliaths now. I guess those are okay. But again, the Goliaths do not have the stun upgrade, which makes them useful against the air units. Goliath's main DPS is not really strong enough. I also realized I was looking at the wrong upgrades here. So Nova does have the graduating range and the Spire Mines upgrade for, and she has the lockdown missile. I was looking at Raynor's upgrades here. My bad. Sorry about that. So yeah, Nova does have all her upgrades for her units there. So that's actually really good on Nova's part, and she's gone for the ship plating and the ship upgrades. So Nova has actually decided to go for a pure mech build, which is one of the stronger builds for Nova on this map. The siege tanks are so useful against the infested units on here. So overall, I think they should be able to hold this with few problems. But now the first set of Banshees has spawned, and this is where the problem occurs. And now there's a scan from Raynor as well, just to provide a little bit of vision to these units. And we now have an airstrike as well, and that is a hybrid dominator over here. I'm not sure who died. I think it was Nova that died and ended up spawning the hybrid dominator. So that is where the problems can happen, but that ends up getting handled with without too many losses. But this is where Raynor's army as well will start to struggle, because they are taking damage and they will end up getting killed off. But there's a defensive drone that comes up, keeps Raynor's army alive, and I think the ship will be defended okay. But there are a few Banshees over here that are still not being taken care of. But there we go, there's a scan, airstrike comes down and wipes out the rest of the infested units that were attacking that ship, and that is the second ship done. Now we have next ship that will be coming up, and now there's also an attack wave that is coming up towards that ship. So Raynor is going to start dropping some of the units here, and there's a tactical airlift that puts up in position. Unfortunately, some of these Marines do end up getting picked up by the blizzard, but now Raynor is here, a little bit of a stim, and they're cleaning up that harass wave, and they'll start pushing towards the side. Unfortunately, they do end up getting caught by that blizzard. The one thing to also know about blizzard is that it slows your units down as your units remain in that position, so your units end up moving really, really slowly, and that's where you end up taking a lot of damage. You want to get out of blizzard as quickly as possible. Otherwise, you may end up losing units unnecessarily to the mess that is coming up your way. There is another part of the harass wave that's coming up here, and there are a few Banshees, there are a few Banelings and Zerglings on this side, and that Goliath is very, very low on HP. Not sure if it will survive. It has to get out of the blizzard. 12 HP remaining, and now it'll start regenerating its HP now. It needs to go next to Nova's Raven so it can go and get some heals, and now it's getting killed by Nova's repair drones, the biomechanical repair drones. So the commander is choosing to ignore Blightbringer, which is a good choice. Blightbringer harassing that defensive drone over there, and the ship has still not been triggered. There's an attack with that's actually been spawned here. That guess ends up getting cleaned up very, very easily because there are very, very few air units here. This would be a perfect time for an airstrike to end up cleaning up these overlords. Unfortunately, no airstrike is there, and that attack wave is making its way towards player base. Unfortunately, a little bit too late on that. Not all the overlords were cleared up. Two of these guys are remaining. Hyperion gets dropped down because it's just too risky to have these units go into the players' bases over here, because remember, the expansion has not been taken. Going into the main player's base can cause a problem, because if these units aggro these SCVs, they will start transmutating every single time. Overkill, unfortunately, on the airstrike over there to clean it up, but I guess better safe than sorry. And now, commanders are ready to trigger that next ship if they choose to do so. Still no triggering on the ship. Let's have a look at Raynor's base in the meanwhile. So we can see here that Raynor has put down a total of 6 barracks, and he has a total of 6 orbital CCs as well. Lots of engineering bay upgrades here. You can see that Raynor is going for the armor upgrades as well. The armor upgrades make your army very, very resilient, because for Raynor, it gives them more HP as well. There's actually 8 barracks over here. Very, very good production here for Raynor, and as you can see, he's not really affected by by the blizzard and the lack of having an expansion, because that is what Raynor can do. But now the ship has started to launch, and will start to draw the attention of a lot of the infected units. We have another anti-airstrike that comes down a little bit too early. Does end up missing this attack wave. As you can see here, Nova's siege tanks are just standing strong in the back line and just shelling from behind and dealing a lot of damage to these units over here. Lots of Banelings coming up over here. Almost ends up killing off Nova, which would be really bad, because that will give you a hybrid dominator. Nova backs off a little bit, just to get away. And now there's a blizzard that just runs through this entire entrenchment over here, which is going to deal a lot of unnecessary damage. The good thing for the commanders is they don't really have to move their army very much. There's not a lot of maneuvering that is required, but they will be taking a lot of damage here. But so far so good. Not a lot of casualties there. Overall, like, Raynor has lost a total of 200 Marines, but Raynor can afford these losses because he's not really impacted by his economy that much. So it's not terrible for him. And we have a Viper that just casted a parasitic bomb onto these Ravens. But again, these Ravens can't heal themselves. They will be healing the rest of the army. Lots of heals coming up, which is what's keeping these units alive. This is what's making this mission doable. The healing from the medics and the healing from the Ravens, very, very useful in keeping these units alive. Make sure you don't end up losing all sorts of random stuff like that. For example, that Loki has come up, and now there's a Hybrid Dominator tier. A max tier Hybrid Dominator, and now there's a Stim Forward from Raynor. He's going to end up cleaning up this guy over here. And now they have to go ahead and clear this next side. So there's a nuke that comes down. Very nice nuke from Nova on this side. Instantly one-shots everything over here. And this side now is ready to be launched. The one thing you also have to do when you are doing more difficult mutators, especially when you're dealing with unfavorable commanders, is just take it slowly. Don't try and rush these missions. Like, you can launch 2 ships at the same time. You can manually trigger the ship if you want to. Just make sure that you are actually in position and you have everything set. You don't have to try and speed run a mission if you find you're falling behind. So that's the other thing to also note here. So this ship will now be triggered. Both the armies are pretty much maxed out, I think, for in terms of the power level that is required to be able to hold the side. So you can see here Nova, like, even though is not supply capped, she has a bunch of siege tanks and she's put railgun turrets down. She has those mag mines from the siege tanks. She has her siege tank upgrades, so she's doing okay here. The only thing is, like, only still at level 1. Going up for the extra level upgrades is going to be very useful for her, but again, it really depends on the resources that you have available. Right now, Nova is filling a lot of resources, so I don't see why she has not gone for the higher level upgrades. But the other thing that Nova can also do to complement her army, especially because you're dealing with these Hybrid Dominators over here, is to put some Liberators on the mix. The Liberators are really good for dealing single target damage. So just putting up a bunch of sieged up Liberators will be useful. Maybe even a couple of Ghosts with EMP so that you can drain this energy from these Hybrid Dominators so they don't end up scaling you. Because now, as you can see, this army is going to start getting overwhelmed because of those Dominators just casting a lot of storms onto Raynor's army. But Raynor is able to hold and make sure that Nova's army does not take too much damage. Because if Nova loses her siege tanks, that is going to be very, very bad juju for the rest of them. So overall, they're doing okay. There's another airstrike that comes down. I think one of those siege tanks does end up falling to be infested. There's one Banshee that's focusing on this ship here, but more or less all saved, and that is the last ship saved now. And that is the end of the mission. That is GG.